Hi, it's Sheryl from Colorful Intentions. Question for you. Have you ever left a meeting or maybe a conversation and later thought, how did I say that? What was I thinking? Right? When you all of a sudden realize, like, man, my emotions seem to get the best of me. I know better. Ever had that moment? If you have, you are a human being, just like the rest of us. We all have moments like that. What I'm going to share with you today is something I learned a couple years ago in my study of interpersonal neurobiology, and it's something very easy called the brain in the palm of your hand. So what I like about this model is it really makes it, we're not going to go deep into brain science, right? We're just going to talk a little bit more about something you guys have probably heard of, the fight, flight, or freeze response that we all have. And what I love about the brain on the palm of your hand just makes it accessible. It gives you something tangible to really think of and understand. So let's go through it and let's see what you can do in using it the next time you're in one of those situations. So go ahead and put your right hand up along with me. If you think about your hand being, this is our brain, right? This is a model of what's going on up here. So this part right here, right? This part around your wrist, this would be down here. This would be considered our brain stem, right? The brain stem. The brain stem is super important. It is what keeps our blood flowing. It keeps our heart beating. It keeps that basic human part of keeping us alive, right? That's all coming from the brain stem. This part of our brain, it really hasn't changed much, honestly, since caveman days, right? Keeping our blood flowing, keeping us moving, digestion, all of those things, right, are happening from your brain stem. So important piece. Okay, let's come up to this part, right? This part right here. I'm going to say this is this part right here. This is what we call our prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex. This is the most developed part of our brain. This is the part that when you are in that big meeting or that conversation with somebody in your life that's a really important conversation, this is where you want to be. This is where our executive functioning in our brain lives, right? That ability to be logical, that ability to be strategic, right? The ability to deal with complexity, that all lives here. It lives in our prefrontal cortex. Important piece, and we want to be there. We want to be there all the time. Here's the thing, can't be there all the time, right? It's a great part of our brain. It is the most developed part of our brain back from caveman days, and yet it has its limitations as well. It can get taxed. It can get taxed fairly quickly. If you've done any leadership sessions with me in the past, we don't try to stay in one zone. I don't try to lecture more than about 12 to 18 minutes at the most all at once, right? And that's because this part of our brain, it can get taxed, right? It's like, think of a supercomputer that really gets going and it gets heated up. So that's why we like switching, maybe every 18 minutes, standing up or a different position or going into a different activity. It helps keep that part a little bit more engaged, keeps it fresh, right? So again, we want to be there. We want to be there in that meeting. But notice you're going to drift off a little bit. This part's going to want to go offline, right? So just keeping an eye on that. Sometimes just taking a breath, sometimes just bringing your awareness to it can help polish it up and make it be ready. Okay, so we're in that meeting and we're wanting to come from here, right? We're wanting to be that very logical person that we know we are. And all of a sudden, something is said, or maybe it was just the tone of a question, the way that it was asked, but something happens, and all of a sudden you feel a little bit of emotion. You feel a little bit of emotion inside, right? When that happens, we go from our prefrontal cortex to this part that's on the inside, right? This part on the inside, which is called our amygdala. If you've never said that word before, if nobody's watching, go ahead and say it with me. Amygdala. It's kind of a funny word to say. So the amygdala is a very important part of our brain as well. This is where emotion is stored. This is where memories are stored, right? So any emotion, good or bad, that you've had in life, it's all in there. It's all in the amygdala, right? So it's an important part of the brain. And yet, when we say things like, oh, I was too emotional, usually it's what we consider an amygdala hijack, right? We've given up this part and we've done what my instructor used to call, we've flipped our lid And now the amygdala is in the driver's seat. It can happen pretty quickly. We can go from serious, logical, I'm here, to whew, really quickly, right? Again, somebody says something or we feel like we're being attacked, and it can happen really quickly. Other times it's kind of a slow process. Here's the really cool part, and this is why I think it's so important for us to know this. As that process is happening, our body, in its divine wisdom, it sends us some clues. It sends us some clues going, I'm getting ready, amygdala's gonna be in the driver's seat. First of all, let's pause there. Why do we not want the amygdala in the driver's seat? Again, when the amygdala is in the driver's seat, think of a really hot frying pan. You're making something in a really hot frying pan. Maybe have the heat on a little bit too high, especially if you're using a gas stove, and there's no grease in it, right? Everything sticks, right? Everything sticks. When you're coming from a place in the amygdala, when you're having that amygdala hijack, that's how emotions feel. That's how words start feeling, right? Everything's feeling much bigger probably than it is, because we're in that fight, fright, flight, or freeze place, right? We're in that part that our body wants to save us from whatever this fear, this threat is, right? It's our threat response. So it makes sense that we have that response. It made sense a gazillion years ago when it was that tiger chasing us. Does it make sense when we get asked a tough question in a meeting or when we're feeling like we're being challenged? Not so much, right? We want to be able to see if we can stay here. So back to the cool part of our body. It sends a signal. So as this is starting to happen, your body starts sending you some signals. For me, I feel like I get red cheeks, right? I can feel heat in my cheeks immediately. I also can feel it in my jaw. I start to clench a little bit. Those are two that happen for me right away. I've had this conversation with a lot of clients. A lot of other people have said heartbeat, right? Heart starts beating really fast. Or let's see, what else have I had people say? Again, you kind of have that heat. Your heart starts pumping a little bit faster. Your breath starts to shorten. All of these things, again, they make sense if we're going to fight that tiger, right? And so that's your body's way of saying, we're making the shift. We're getting ready to go there. And so here's the cool part. By you noticing that, by you thinking today about, yeah, what are those signals that my body starts to do? Where do I feel it first? Do I feel it in my heart? Do I feel like my shoulders getting anxious? But what is that physical piece that I'm feeling first? If we can notice that, we can slow it down. Because here's the thing. From prefrontal cortex to amygdala hijack can happen just like that. Think of Los Angeles with no cars on the freeways. You have it by yourself. You can go as fast as you want. Going from amygdala back to prefrontal cortex, we can get there. It's possible, but it takes some time, right? It takes some time because the logical part of our brain isn't the one in control anymore. It's more like driving on a dirt road in a hilly area at night with no lights, right? We can get there, but it's slow going. So again, we want to notice, what are those things that are happening? What are those things that are starting to happen? As soon as I notice, oh, I'm feeling that clenching in my jaw, I'm feeling my body tense up. As soon as I notice that, what am I going to do about it? Now, I've done a lot of research on this. I was looking for like the big answer, right? What is it? And I was surprised when I was talking to a prominent PhD in the area of neuroscience and interpersonal neurobiology. And what he explained to me was pretty similar to what my yoga teacher had just talked to me about the week before. In that moment, when this is starting to happen, the best thing that we can do is a deep belly breath. Right? Taking a deep belly breath. I like to put my hands on my belly to feel it. Feel my diaphragm filling with air. Why does that work? Why does something as simple as a deep breath slow that process down? It's all about brain chemicals. It tells your brain, we don't need to go here. We're okay, right? We're okay. We can stay here. What we want to do in that moment that amygdala hijack is going is we want to kind of trip it. We don't want to have our brain automatically go there, right? So that deep breath, all of a sudden your brain is sending the rest of your body calming brain chemicals, right? Your body is all of a sudden, that clenching that was happening automatically starts to loosen. It sounds maybe too good to be true, but I got, I don't know, about 12 years of history of continually trying it on a regular basis, as well as working with other clients in this area. So a deep breath. Do I have to make a really big deal? And is everybody going to know I'm like doing my deep breath thing? No. You might be able to just sit there and take a breath. You might be able to just focus on your breathing, right? What you want to do is you want to tell your brain, we got this. We don't need to go here. We're going to stay here. I've had other clients tell me different techniques that they've done. I remember I had one client say, I just take a slow drink of water. Slow drink of water. It's the same thing. He's taking that slow drink of water. He's telling his body, we got this. We're hydrating, right? It's like you're giving your brain something different to anchor into. Had another client say, oh, I go on a mini vacation. Okay, so if you're all of a sudden thinking of something else and going on a mini vacation, yes, you're probably not being the best listener in that moment. Your active listening has gone out the window. But here's the thing. As that's happening, your active listening is going out the window as well, right? When we are coming from our amygdala, when we're coming from fight, flight, or freeze, we can't be good listeners. Our body kind of tunes that out because we got to be ready, right? So taking that mini vacation to your happy place, it usually only takes 10 to 30 seconds. But going to that beach or going wherever, again, if that brings you calm, if that brings you that same calm as that deep breath, it helps you stay online, right? You might go from to and that's why it makes a difference, right? So getting to know how your body physically responds in these moments can help you have a strategy, right? Have a strategy of how you're going to deal with it. Look, we're all human beings. We're all going to have moments where we're going to be a little bit triggered, or when somebody's going to say something that just, feels like it pierces us a bit more, or when we feel this defensiveness come up. Sometimes it's defensiveness, sometimes it's, I'm checking out, right? Whatever it is for you, it's a physical reaction that's happening. It's this getting ready to happen. So here's your task for today. Think for yourself, how does my body tell me? What are the things going on when that starts to happen for me? Is it the heartbeat, right? Is it the rosy cheeks? But what is it? And come up with your own strategy of what you're going to do. Am I going to take a deep breath? Am I going to take that long drink of water? What am I going to do? I can guarantee you from working with a lot of clients on this in the past, having that strategy already there, practicing that strategy on occasion, it's going to help you stay a lot more balanced, right? Maybe here, maybe not all the way here, but it's going to give you a lot more control of going to that full amygdala hijack. Hope that's been useful to you today. Would love to hear your feedback. Would love to hear where you're having success with it. Look forward to talking to you again.